what we need to do is to remove our pride. We're told in verse 6 of the passage that we're looking at, the prophet says, Elisha says, where did it fall? Some of us feel that we can never admit failure. We're so self-sufficient that we can never admit that we're struggling or that we have struggled or that we feel any shame at all. The problem is that we're not getting over our issue of pride. We're not getting over that sense that we don't want anyone else to know. But this young man shows us some steps to take. First thing he does is he shows remorse. In verse 5, he says, "Oh, my Lord." Now, who's he talking to? Well, he's not talking to God. He's talking to Elisha. He's gone to Elisha and he says, "Oh, my Lord." There is a brokenness in the expression. It's like, can we focus on that word, oh? Oh, it's gone wrong. It's gone wrong. I thought it was going to be dandy. I thought it was going to be great. We're going to build this sleeping quarters for the prophets. We're going to have meetings there. It's going to be great. It's going to be like a revival. It's gone wrong. Help. Oh, my Lord. He shows remorse. He's not covering up. He might be worried about his future, but this is where everything changes for this young bloke. He doesn't run away. You say, "Oh, Keith, I've never run away from anything." Well, we might just close ourselves in, not let people close anymore. And here's the beauty of this. He doesn't do that. He shows remorse. He says, "I've got it wrong." And when does he do it? He does it immediately. He doesn't wait for a week or 10 weeks or a year and then go and say, "Do you know, about a year ago I dropped an axe in there and I've been serving as a slave ever since and it's been a real problem for me. Won't you do a miracle for me? Won't you help me recover it? I've been fishing around in the river. I've tried, I've been doing all this sort of thing." He doesn't do that. He goes straight away and says, "I've got it wrong." The second thing he does is he repents. He says in verse 5, he explains it was borrowed. He goes to the prophet because he trusts the prophet. He trusts the person in spiritual authority. And it doesn't have to be a leader in the church even that you confess some things to, but sometimes that helps. But he finds someone that he trusts and it says it was borrowed. Now in that phrase, the prophet immediately understands this young man's dilemma. He immediately understands that if this axe is not recovered, then this young man is saying goodbye to his future ministry. He's saying goodbye to the school of the prophets. He's saying goodbye to helping. He's going to have to be packed off home and sent back to make restitution for what's happened. By explaining, say, I've lost this and it was borrowed. You see, if it wasn't borrowed, what's the problem? If it was his, there's no problem, is there? He'd just go and say, "Look, I dropped my axe head. I need to go and borrow one, but that one was mine. So that's my loss. It doesn't matter." But actually, when it's borrowed, you might think, well, what's the big deal? Because I borrow things all the time, But actually, there is a scriptural imperative here that we give something back better than when we got it. And so, if you borrow someone's lawnmower, make sure you give it back clean. That's the way it is. We lent somebody a fridge once. Do you remember? I won't mention the name. You might even know the person because they went on to be an Elim pastor, and they're the worst. Sorry, Lee. You're not like that at all. You're lovely. But we lent this family this fridge, and it was just a fridge. It wasn't anything special. We rented this fridge, and they had it for a couple of years. And the day they were moving, they said, "We're going to bring it back to you," and they dropped the fridge. And ruined it. Split the back and all that sort of thing. And it was just it was forever finished. It was never going to be a fridge anymore. It's just going to be a white cupboard. And so we said, well, that's okay. It's all right. It really doesn't matter. But I could turn around to that person and say, "Well, you need to replace my fridge." You say, well, that's not very grace. But I could say, well, that's biblical. But I showed more grace. But what should have happened from that individual is the question should have been asked, "Do you want me to replace the fridge?" But it was never asked. You see, there's an imperative here. So if something's borrowed, and we mess up with something, then we need to understand that we need to make restitution. And this man repents, and he confesses it.